Afternoon. November 2nd, 2023, Friday Organization Management Board meeting. Welcome to anyone in the audience here or online. And we'll get started. Do we have someone who would like to volunteer for opening prayer? Anyone? Sure.
Let's pray.
Thank you.
Dear Lord, we just want to thank you for this day. We want to thank you for this opportunity to once again come together and serve our community. We're prompted in scripture that we should do everything as if we're doing it for you. And so we just ask that as we do this meeting, do it with wisdom, sincerity, and humility. And just guide us to best serve the public today. Hearing you.
Thank you. Attendance, please. Here.
Curtis Nice,
Here.
Clayton Matt,
Here. And for the record, Teresa Wall McDonald has stepped down, and the tribal council will be appointing her replacement soon. So, and we hope sometime soon we can pull together something and do something nice for her. I think that would be an honorable thing to do. So, do a little time. I'll think about that and we'll do something. All right, thank you. Yes. I couldn't agree more. I shared some personal messages with her and encouraged her to stick around, but it's not in the cards today. And but certainly we appreciated all of her efforts and her experience brought a lot to the table. So, yes. As always, moving on, announce. We just want to remind everyone who was listening that all of the meeting minutes are on the DNRC and CSKP websites. Should you have a desire to look at them, and the minutes of this meeting will be there in the future as well. And question about moving on 1.4 disclosure of any potential conflicts of interest. Fairly simple agenda today, but regardless, we'll double check here if I can.
No.
And none for myself, so we're good there. Before we adopt the agenda, I don't want to make this an agenda item unless you want to have a question for the agenda. I know we're going to talk about some personnel policy matters, but want to ask. It's been probably since August that Ethan has proposed to this board his leave standing, including what his leave earning calculation would be. If we have that information, and we never made a formal decision, and I think there were a few things we wanted to move forward on before we made that decision, apparently. So I just wanted to ask, would you like to consider that today? And so we can make a decision on that today. I've got some paperwork here we can make a copy of. We can put it online here. If we do that, then my question would be is, would you like to do it up front, first part of the meeting, or at the end of the meeting? And if we do that, I would recommend we do major discussion of that in executive session because it's a personnel item. And then if we have action to take, we would come out of that and take action. So whatever you choose, we'll do that. But I wanted to lay that on the table for you and ask for your consideration. Roger.
Yes, I would like to postpone that because fortunately Teresa's not here, but she and I have been discussing that, those calculations. Might want to revisit those. They're not, the policy's not finalized yet. So I would like to see what, I don't remember getting a copy of what you proposed in August. So yes, I'd like to see that again, but I'd like to postpone that to another meeting.
Just a couple comments. First of all, I mean, that's one thought we can postpone. Ethan re-summarized that for me, and I can, we can make sure everybody has a copy of that. That includes the original email, I believe August. So, everyone, we probably haven't all spent much time looking at it since August, obviously. But the other thing is, however, we did approve various pieces of the personnel policy as we move through. And we did approve a piece of the policy that talks about what we would recognize in terms of work experience for leave purposes coming into these positions. And we did approve that. So either we need to honor that or we need to change the policy, but we should revisit that. But one way or the other, we should revisit that as a policy. So anyway, yes. Okay, and
I just had a question for Ethan. Would the leave decision today affect your holiday plans at all with what's coming up? Or I'm just thinking in terms of timeliness, if this would affect your ability to take off time from the holidays that we have.
Mr. Chairman, Board Member Smees, of course, if I don't have any certainty on what my leave accrual is, it's difficult for me to plan my personal life. I have been working here for over a year. The policies were passed. They were fairly clear. I've already implemented those policies for other staff members back in August. I have gone ahead and tracked mine as if they would be implemented back when the question was first raised.
Got interest in postponing this. I'm not sure where you are with it.
Well, I guess that helped. I was waiting to hear from Ethan. Sound like the Swiss right now. I understand the desire to postpone, and I also hear Ethan's need for us to move. If we did go into executive session, would that be an opportunity to quickly come up to speed and then make a decision today? Would that be a compromise path forward?
Mr. Chairman, board members, I don't think you even have to go into an executive session. I'm comfortable with you having this discussion.
Well, we would have an open discussion if you authorize it.
I'm authorizing an open discussion of that.
In any case, what I have is an email I just received from Ethan that summarizes his original thoughts on this. And so it would be easy enough to get copies of this in anybody's hands and take a look. We should probably do that anyway. So can we go ahead and just get copies in their hands?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Whether we move on this or not today, but that was so Georgia has a thought, so let's get copies of this in your hands and maybe have a brief discussion. Even if we don't make any decisions.
Yes, since it wasn't an agenda item, I did not care at all to discuss.
Okay. You'd like to get a copy of this thing?
Sure.
Okay, let's get copies in everybody's hands. And let's, I'd like to try to commit to when we can move forward with this, or at least make a decision.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, our personnel policies just designate you as my supervisor. And my understanding is that it was the board would set policies. And then as my direct supervisor, we would have interaction about implementing the policies. And so I wasn't aware until just now that this was something that
I haven't.
my PTO accrual would be a board decision item. I kind of think it's a little unusual, but if that's the direction the board wants to go.
Well, let me put it this way, then if, I would like to at least get input from the board, whether it's their decision or not. And for them to give me input, I would like them to have the opportunity to review this. So our next board meeting is then, do we have one scheduled?
Mr. Chairman, board members, we have not been able to schedule a board meeting. I have sent out multiple efforts to try to get people to have schedules that align, and quorum has not been established on any day other than today. And we have canceled several meetings because of difficulty in scheduling board members to make a quorum.
Okay. And we originally had tomorrow scheduled, that got canceled. And I think I'd asked Ethan to put out some additional dates. I think most of you are responding to those. The additional dates included the 6th, 7th, and 8th of next week. Is there any possibility of moving forward with a meeting on the 6th, 7th, or 8th next week? And I don't remember if it's still on there.
Mr. Chairman, for your convenience, I have the schedule up here in the spreadsheet. The 6th, 7th, and 8th are highlighted in yellow, along with the responses that I got from folks. Give me a second and I will freeze, or you can see the names here in this order. Sorry, I wasn't quite prepared. Let's see, I think maybe if I do this, there you go. Now you can see the board members and what we have available. So these definitely look like a no on the 6th and the 7th. The 8th is uncertain. Mr. Chairman, board members, the next meeting that you would have considerable amount of important business on it, where we would need participation and quorum. And sorry to bring that up here. I also think that we're already quickly approaching a noticing crunch that is,
On an upcoming meeting, yeah. So let's move on. So what's next? What's the next best option? And folks, if you take a look and if there's any dates that you can consider, maybe we should try to at least hone in on the next meeting.
let me see if I can make this a little more readable for the board members. 1 second here. Is that too small, Mr. Chairman, board members? Can you make this out?
like the next possible closest opportunity is Wednesday the 15th. Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's final exam. You guys,
Third option, and we don't know how quickly they're going to appoint somebody who is good. Yeah, tentatively set 15. And assume that we'll have a new appointment, at least by the end of the form. But, you know, to Ethan's point, we've got a number of important issues to cover. I think that includes some legal issues. Is that correct?
Legal issues, your budget,
We
which
need
you've been interested in
Yeah.
having, get out there.
we need to try to have everything.
And Mr. Chairman, board members, sorry to interrupt again, please, forgive we really need two meetings. One of them is with your legal staff, which will go over, the essential functions of the board in hearings and appeals. And, the legal staff would really like to have, all of the board members participate in that, not just a quorum, because it is a fundamental part of the, of things. I will, of course, make a recording of that on the off chance that one of the five of you could not make it, but we would like to have quorum. There is plans to have the passage of legal documents pertaining to the hearings and appeals process at that time, which would also mean, Mr. Chairman, board members, that you'll need to review that information.
So, 15th doesn't work. Looks like the next possibility is the 29th. Yes. 29th and 30th. So there's 2 days. Is that still look good for everyone?
Mr. Chair, if I could, just looking at this, I had originally said I could not make it on November 9th because that was a scheduled field day.
Yes.
That has since been canceled due to the weather. So I will be available on the 9th. If that fits is supposed to be on.
So the 9th looks like it's back on the table. Unless, let's see, so we've got, 9th, is uncertain. Let's say. Right. Those, remote servers or private funds was. Speak on the eighth of daughter's house. So 29th and 30th look like the next 2 in a row days. So, and 30th. Yes. Okay. So according to what I'm seeing right now, 29th and 30th. And so let's go on. So 29th and 30th, let's double check and let's hear from everyone.
What day is Thanksgiving? Or
Okay.
I see a quorum of yeses on the spreadsheet here, Mr. Chairman. Is that
29th and 30th, yeah.
I can't pull up the calendar.
Mr. Chairman, board members, it's possible that our Wi-Fi does not work at this time because it's in the transition. You might have to,
Yes, those words.
So. It's about as good as we're gonna get right now. So I think we scheduled the 29th and 30th. And it's too early. I would really, so let's do that. Regarding the information that you can just do this, I'd like to do this though. I'd like to have you take a look at that and give me your feedback within a few days, maybe a week. And if it's something that we can move forward on, and then just authorize it for concurrence. If it's something that is still largely up in the air, then I think we need to talk about it. But if we can resolve this between us by email, or then that would be great. Fair enough? Okay, very good. All right. 29th and 30th. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, board members, do I have the authorization then to build an agenda and notice those meetings?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, board members, if you have specific items that I might not be thinking of for your regularly scheduled board meeting, it would be appropriate for you to give me those items within the next week so I can get that agenda built and established. I am very actively trying to get your meeting materials to you ahead of schedule and to try to improve our meeting noticing.
And I would say, let's add your item here to the first agenda in the event we haven't resolved it before. That way, at least it's on the agenda. Yeah. Right.
Well, I guess I would suppose that you're gonna wanna have one of those 2 days, you're gonna wanna have a meeting with legal staff.
That's
So you're not going to see what they're
Mhm.
Are they on?
No, Mr. Chairman, Haley was not available today. I will try to text her to try to check these meeting days right now. And Haley would need to be at both of these meetings, Mr. Chairman.
So given that, we are at item 1.5, adopt agenda, unless somebody else has something for the agenda today, make a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as revised. The new meeting dates of the 29th be added for under number 5.
Motion by Roger. Second by Ken, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Was it aye?
Yes.
Okay, all right, we're good. Thank you. Okay. Public comment for items not on the agenda. We have no public here in the physical audience today. Is anyone online
We have a few members online.
as a comment?
If you'd like to make a public comment online, you could raise your hand and we can allow you to speak. Have one public comment.
I'm gonna allow this speaker, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. If you have a hand up, please do. Please give us your name and give us your comment, please.
My name is Jacob Fiestner. Can you hear me okay?
And Jacob, could you spell your last name?
Fiestner. It's just like feisty, but it has an N-E-R on the end. Feistner.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for allowing us public members to listen in and have a part in your meeting. First, I just wanted to express some appreciation for your crew, your staff. Part of what I do for a living is I help people with land division. And so on a pretty regular basis, I'm in the office there, getting permits for submitting well applications and working with Ethan and James and Christy. And they've been extremely helpful, nice to work with, responsive, all the things that you would want in an employee. So I just want to say that for the record, appreciate their help. They've been great.
Thank you.
One of the challenges that I run into is oftentimes I'm working with a single split where it's 2 lots. Sometimes it's a 3-lot division, but there are bigger projects that exceed that 3 or 4 lot threshold where we're limited by, we can't move forward with the project because we're not able to get the comment we need for DEQ review that pertains to not just water availability, but the ability to gain water right for the needed water for the subdivision. And so I think we usually call it the development application. And I know that a draft of that had been created earlier this year, I believe. I think James had been working on that. And there was some movement on it, but then that, for various reasons, you would know better than I, it got halted. So I guess maybe it's a question more than a statement. Just wondering where you as a board are at with that. Is that something you're going to be pick up again and work on sometime soon, or is there a timeline on the application for developments?
Okay, since we're taking comments here, typically don't use this opportunity for dialogue. I'll ask the board, would you like Ethan to respond to that? Okay, Ethan, can you provide him with a response?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, board members, to date, what we have is we've got an ongoing draft of, there's 2 items I think Mr. Fiestner is interested in. One is an application that you recently, an application form that you recently saw for an applicant who's going through a subdivision review by the DEQ and the county to request verification of an existing water right so that water right can be determined as valid. This is a service that the Montana DNRC provides off the reservation, and we had some pretty good traction on the application form itself, and the board did pass it. And then subsequently, the board decided that it'd be a good idea to establish some procedures for what those reviews are going to look like, and then it imposed a stay on the office accepting and moving any of those applications, and instructed me to work with our legal staff to develop what those policies and procedures might look like, and to have that job largely performed by the legal staff. So after the meeting, I did interact with our legal staff and instruct them that this needed to happen, offered them a fairly quick, sorry, Mr. Chairman, a fairly quick, step-by-step approach of what I thought would be viewed as a good arrangement from what the board had generally given me for instruction. The legal staff was going to take that and help it mature into a more finalized document for the board review, and that's the status on that. As the board knows, when we did publish that application, we had one application filed almost immediately because people were waiting for it, and we're going to need to interact with that applicant and explain to them that there's a stay on those applications just now. But then also, we've had a lot of other folks, Jacob included, asking, where we're at with those applications. And so the status is I certainly hope to be able to have a draft of those policy procedures for verification of an existing water right at your next board meeting. And some of that is dependent on your legal staff's time. And your legal staff has got quite a bunch of assignments. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, I did copy you both on an email this morning that articulated 12 ongoing projects, I believe it was, many of which are significant. And so just to let you be aware of where we're at with that feature. Now, Mr. Chairman, if you'll allow me to move to the second topic, which would be development domestic allowances. And this is the expansion beyond an individual and a shared domestic allowance. This next step is this up to 10 acre foot allowance that could be used for multiple units, more than the generally the 3 that this board has set policy on as the maximum amount for a shared domestic allowance. And keeping in mind, it does say domestic, but it does include businesses as well, Mr. Chairman, board members. So we've had working groups meet on this. We've gone a little bit on the small side and then over to the big side. We've had a fair amount of interaction. The next step on this item is to get an updated draft that helps to solve some of the confounding items that have been brought forward by stakeholders, such as what parcel size, how that parcel size is integrated into the number of development domestic allowances that could be used, such as how we might interact with DEQ's determination of major and minor subdivisions. Also, how this board might look at a number of home and or business units and be able to achieve a fair build out in relation to the relative size of those, meaning that obviously something that has a 10 acre foot limit, and if you want to have some certainty on the front end, you wouldn't set a number of units and treat 5 12-bedroom homes the same way that you would treat 5 2-bedroom homes in terms of what their likely water draw would be. Now, Mr. Chairman, board members, we have also gone through a fair amount of other options that have been reviewed and considered, from engineering reports to looking at other ways to integrate with DEQ. And so the board is due another draft, and it's on the list, but we have a lot of things on our list in terms of what priorities have been. The board did redirect me on some priorities with substantive projects, such as the Wirus project, which has taken considerable time for this office to achieve. We have been redirected to perform personnel actions that the board has mandated our office achieve, and those have been prioritized. We have ongoing projects needed to get this building up to available standards. That has been a priority as well. And then also, my understanding generally is that until such time as the board resolves the comp time and overtime issues set forth in the OE policy, we're not willing to inadvertently find ourselves in a spot that does not meet the board's wishes. So all work has been limited to a regular 40-hour week at this time, and that's been noticeable.
Mr. Fiestner, thank you for your comment. I know the lengthy response, but I think the short answer is yes. We have a product in the works, and we should have something soon to move forward with. Any
Thank
other
you.
comments? If not, any other individuals have comments? Anybody else online? Okay, with that, we'll close that public comment section. We'll have one later. Move on to item number 3, which is Office of Engineer Personnel Policies. Thanks, Ethan.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Fiestner, you might put your hand down so that we know that you aren't trying to get our attention. Thank you, sir. Did I say his name? Fiestner. Fiestner, excuse me. Bear with me here for a second, Mr. Chairman. Can't quite find the share button. Things disappear on me sometimes. Oh, it's on this page. I'm looking right at it. Oh, thank you. That one. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, board members, I have the OE policies up. I can either direct traffic or sit back and take your direction.
No, we've been following your lead on what the next priorities are and taking them one at a time. So why don't you march us through them and take the next one?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please do interrupt me and redirect me as needed. Remember, I am here to serve your direction on these items. Mr. Chairman, if we could go to the drug-free workplace. And a quick reminder, last meeting that we addressed personnel policies, the drug-free workplace was discussed. We've come to this particular policy several times. The board had requested legal review, wanted to have a little bit more time to leave here and think about what they were going to do with this policy. And I thought this would be a good spot to come back while it could be still fresh in the board members' minds. Sorry, hopefully that's a little bigger. Is that viewable, Mr. Chairman? Okay. And we could either make modifications that would be needed, or maybe the board might want to consider accepting this policy.
Yeah, we had a comment that what was the legal staff feedback?
Legal had reviewed this and said everything looked fine. And, you know, they really wanted to emphasize, you know, that we have some of this language in here, which is that nothing in here circumvents the Montana Drug and Alcohol Testing Act. And I think that we've got that generally considered. there was a lot of discussion on this particular paragraph here about, whether or not violation of these was gonna be immediate disciplinary action, and whether or not an OE employee may provide information from their healthcare provider to help explain the violations. And so that's where that addition came in here. We did have, you'll remember that the one bit of information that I was really encouraging the board to have is that we've got this accident drug screening situation. Mr. Chairman, did you need to have a copy of this printed out for you? Because we can do that. I did send out a prior communication that if you wanted to have a new copy printed for you.
Okay. Just call it good for the moment.
Yes, sir.
I'll continue to try to follow along.
You'd like me to go to any part of this? Maybe we could start up here at the.
Yeah. If you have comments, questions, concerns, let's discuss.
So I scroll down, Mr. Chairman, board members. Don't want to rush anybody. Not. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But it is on us. Yeah, and that language is intended to be in here and right here where it says paid for by the OE. And additionally, smartly, somebody in this group, apologies for not remembering who gets credit, added and transportation needed to obtain a screening will be arranged by the OE, which I thought was a good addition. Again, apologies for not remembering exactly who contributed that. It was not me.
I thought it was you.
Maybe it was me. I guess I'll. I'm not going to go back and look at the video, but.
Mr. Chair, I have a comment.
Yes.
I like how this is currently wording. I'm just sitting here recalling some of our discussions, and I like that there's enough ambiguity for some of the statements like the OE may instead of must, those kinds of words, because in the small office, it gives you the discretion as to whether or not to follow. So it doesn't make it mandatory. And I like that we got rid of the mandatory drug testing. So my comment is I like how this is reading. And if I recall, the conversation we had at the last meeting when we got to this policy was that, you guys remind me if I'm misremembering, but we were concerned that someone could take a prescription medication and have a reaction to it without intent or forethought, right? But again, I think that there is enough leeway for the for Ethan or the OE to choose to act or not to act on a situation, so that it gives some leeway, which for me, that makes me feel better about it. If that's helpful.
Roger, anything? You're only, and this is not to throw a wrench in anything, don't go up there.
Sir,
So.
Here?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
we're told that you may not use legal prescribed, but otherwise representation and care quality. Now, and then we allow for the opportunity for them to answer that, should they be. I don't know if something's going to affect my performance until I have taken it. So sometimes they may take it and it may not be something they assume will affect their operation, their ability to function. And I'm not suggesting you make any changes here. I'm just simply making an observation and comment unless we think there needs. So with that in mind, is there enough flexibility within the rest of the policy to allow for that?
Right, I think we discussed that paragraph quite a bit at the last meeting, and that same concern that you just raised was brought up. And I think the way we got around it is that when the employee reads this, they would read in the personnel manual that they're not to use these kinds of drugs. But if there is a reaction, let's say to a prescribed medication, it doesn't necessarily kick in an automatic response. That would be up to Ethan to determine. So it gives some flexibility.
I'm trying to see, like, maybe we could write this in where the first time that this happens isn't necessarily treated the way you would if it was multiple. That way when you take something, you didn't know how it was going to affect you the first time. Maybe we could build a little dispensation for unexpected reactions. I was trying to do that here, but I'm having a struggle.
And again, as I mentioned, if we feel like the rest of the policy, and you feel like the rest of the policy is flexible enough to overcome any concern there, I'm fine with it. I don't think we need to have it. I just wanted to make sure we.
You know, I think we tend to look at these kinds of policies and we think of illegal drugs, right? Or at least I do. I'll just full disclosure. But I'm just thinking, I had a coworker once who used Benadryl for the first time and got so sleepy she could hardly work. And you know, that's just something where your boss will go, hey, you know, maybe find a different allergy med or something tomorrow.
So otherwise, I'm also fine.
How about making that clarification in there? Reasonably, part of why this is all right to be in here in my mind is that if somebody did take something and they were at work and it affected them in a way that they didn't know, it's just time for us to, like, you know, maybe help them get to a different spot, right? You know, so that not necessarily imposing some huge heavy-handed disciplinary action, but definitely an appropriate time for us to you maybe do some consideration for relocating and redistributing their work hours accordingly, right?
Is there enough there to approve? Okay. We're trying to approve these section by section, so. if you're Ready?
Yes, sir. Tell me when.
The only other thing I can take at this point is, keep in mind that the policies that we approve and adopt, and we're not open from. So that's something that the policy. We can change it.
Hmm.
I really don't know what else it would take to make the exception. It's perfect, better.
I'll go with that. Let's go with that. I like perfect.
The, we'll review in August. Has it changed much?
No. We did some tinkering with it. In these line track changes here are the tinkerings, and that has all been in this setting right here, Mr. Chairman.
And, okay, so we are, whatever the number is,
3.16, Mr. Chairman.
3.16.
And 3.17.
It's been modified because the board did delete previous section, and that's going to happen to us a few times throughout. But
So item 3.16 having been fully discussed and discussed. Sounds like we're ready to approve this section as we have approved other sections. So, if you're, prepared, I will take public comment. There is any public comment online regarding this.
Have anyone in attendance online?
Seeing no public comment available. Motion to 3.16 as currently written. Motion by Kim,
I'll second.
second by Georgia, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right.
thank you, board and Mr. Chairman. And I will put the green. There we go. All right. Mr. Chairman, board members, I'm going to try to draw you into a discussion about overtime, comp time, and required authorization. We had, Mr. Chairman, board members, we had tinkered with this. This was a section about water engineer will formally request budget augmentations from the board to account for proposed overtime work in advance of overtime work occurring. Water engineer will then distribute overtime hours funded by the budget augmentation in accordance with OE workload and workflow needs. So this is really an authorization issue to tie things into budgets. And
Let's, make sure that we are clear on what full section we're doing with this.
yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
We're dealing with 5.04. Okay. And where did it end? Okay. And so, roughly speaking, we've reviewed most of it, and what do you have in the other? Trying to come to terms with?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this was the big switch was to make sure that there was some sort of authorized opportunity to do this. And Mr. Chairman, board members, since this time, I did want to ask you if dollars freed up from from vacancy savings would fall into this category as well, or if you wanted to automate authorization for comp and overtime if there are vacancy savings available. I'm fine either way, but it was just fresh on my mind because we have vacancy savings more than we ever wanted to have right now. So, but I'm happy to do whichever. Keep in mind that absent your approval, I would not be able to work anybody in, regarding this on either for any overtime here. And overtime is defined, Mr. Chairman and board members, as pay for time worked over 40. And just as a general reminder here, that doesn't necessarily mean time and a half. And that is something that we are going to work on here in a second, through your direction. So the rate of payment for overtime is not necessarily set other than for exempt employees, which is a federal law that we don't want to violate. Okay. That was the words of the board at the last meeting. And the augmentation, I assume, would be that, we'll have a budget, and the budget won't necessarily pre-approve overtime. And so if overtime occurs, there needs to be this budget augmentation.
You also touched on whether or not vacant funding from vacant positions would be available for this. I wouldn't personally see any issue with doing it that way or adding that to the mix, because that's fairly automatic. Budget augmentation, I guess, in my mind, assumes that the request comes to the board and the board authorizes additional funding into the budget. Is that
Mr. Chairman, board members, yes, that would be the deal, and then that money would need to come from somewhere. I do believe that is the intent that I got from the board last time. Now, we will always have soft money. I'm going to call it soft money. It's not really soft money, but we do have application fees and interest from our interest earning account that are not things that are going to be part of the board's formal budget. So those would be opportunities for excess budget augmentations that were not previous. Sorry, that was a little.
To do, the more overtime you work, the more applications you process, the more fees potentially that come in from processing those applications.
Theoretically, yes. Although the applications are gonna come in no matter what we do, whether we achieve our our work or not. And there may be scenarios where we don't achieve that. We haven't hit that yet, but we've gotten close.
Well, the language there, I think I see where you're headed, but the water engineer will formally request budget augmentation from the board to account for full overtime and work in advance of overtime work occurring. That statement just says that you'll do that. My thinking is that that would be as needed. If you're already tapping into other funding within the budget that allows you to do the overtime as it comes up. Without that, otherwise, I would say that would be as needed. So if you don't have those funds available, then you have to make that request. So is that what you were thinking, or?
I was really trying to respond to the board on this. In my mind, when this was written, I would just have assumed you guys would want me to operate within the budget.
Yep.
And I would just do that. And if I had to, as with anything else, if I had to make a modification, I would come to you. Now, there's a couple of things that I do think you should consider in this, because that might include overtime for your water engineer, depending on how you decide. Okay, so similar to how your PTO policies affect me, these other policies also affect me. And so I want you to consider that aspect of it. I'm not intending to take advantage of that. You'll have a report that shows what overtime was worked at the end of every 2-week pay period. All overtime hours will be documented on all timesheets every 2 weeks. So first of all, you're not going to have some runaway train that wasn't there for your consideration that exceeds a 2-week period. Okay. And second of all, I mean, there's a bunch of things that are moving targets with any budget. There's some squish in them, and some things cost more and some things cost less than are expected. To me, I could either absorb that into this and forego this step, or we have this step signified. It is really up to the board. But when, if I've got to come and get a board action before doing a thing, that means that thing doesn't get done until there's a board action.
Yeah, one thing you just commented on that. Instead of this time, we do that, we set the budget policy such that as the annual budget is set, that the office operates within the budget. And should there need to be any budget modification, then that's when the board will take action to affect the budget. And then that will give the office an opportunity to find what those budget modifications are for and propose those to the board. Otherwise, you have to stay within the budget regardless. If we do that, this might be, but that's just a thought.
Delete the word.
Yeah, modify the budget, but if we, what I'm saying is if we have here or somewhere else in the budget, where we set the budget policy, that we require that the operations stay within the budget unless modified by the board.
And my point is, that's not what that said. It says we're gonna augment budget, and the only people who can do that is state.
Yeah.
And we can modify it, adjust it, we can't augment.
I mean, we're gonna add to it. What if you just change augmentation to modification?
Yeah, I've done that here. Is that
Well, then I think you're also talking about two different budgets. I'm talking, we've got a budget that we have to live with because of the amount of funding that the tribe and the state provide. I don't think we can argue that. I'm talking about the operational budget. Maybe we need to say operational budget. Because it's the operational budgets that we approve annually that I'm thinking about. I wasn't thinking about the other, and I till you said it, I thought. So it's the operational budget that we say, all right, here's the operational budget we approve. They have to stick within that operational budget, not considering. And so augmenting to me wouldn't have anything to do with whether we have the ability to augment the master budget or funding that we receive from the state and the tribe. I don't think we can. We would have to. And the other reason I'm suggesting we take it under the budget policy is that this particular language, in this section dealing with overtime, I'm talking about an overall budget policy that addresses it as a matter of how the budget managed, not overtime. That's the only difference I see. We can put it in both if we want. That would be fine.
There quickly gets to be a lot of things to keep track of, Mr. Chairman, board members. So for me, it'd be nice to have this in a budget policy. You know, because I mean, all of the changes in expenses
Any other
are,
it could be overtime, it could be building expense, it could be equipment expense, it could be vehicle expense, it could be something that comes up that money has to be moved around, and if it has to be actually modified or increased, then it would come to us anyway. I don't know, and I don't know where we're putting the budget policy, but if I'm just a suggestion, if we do that, then I don't think we need this language here at all. That's just a thought.
Well, I guess that'll probably be the next thing that we work on is some sort of budget policy, but until we have that, why don't we leave it here? And this is always a working document. Take it out once we got the budget policy.
Okay. That's fine with me.
I guess I always come back to the question of how you define success. So if we're looking at how do we handle employee issues successfully, we need a flexible enough tool to accommodate those times when this office gets super busy, right? And so then the question is, does this language address that? And it appears that it does to me.
Just to, yes, thank you. Just to add to the clarification of should we say operating budget? Or does that matter to you? Okay, yeah, I thought so. That way we're not confusing with the, I don't know what else to call it, the master budget, that the funding agreement that we have with the state and tribe. That's what.
but again, this means that I need to get board permission to do any proposed overtime work in advance of overtime work occurring. So you got to understand that mean, like you look at what I did to try to get a meeting together for the board, and that this is now a board action. So if we have a crunch, somebody quits, okay, and I need to, you know, plead with James to work double time, you know, that puts me at a substantial amount out. It's fine if that's the way you want to go, but I want you to set your expectations realistically based on this obligation.
Is that what you want?
I don't think this is I think some of that came from Shane, as I recall. He had to go to his supervisor to do what did and for him to do overtime. So you're gonna know in advance. one day and do overtime the next day.
Well, I think if we say request operating budget modification as needed, and if we say as needed, then the assumption I'm making is that if you don't need it, the modification, then that means you're able to manage the funds that you have. I mean, because I see what you're saying, and I don't know that we want to have to take what action to, you know, when Mr. Frankson's worked an extra 5 hours. Yeah, he has even has to wait our next board meeting to approve. He should be able to manage the time and take care of overtime within the budget. If the budget doesn't have the funding to allow for him to do that, then we should be able to, then it would require board action. So it's tied into the budget management issue as well.
Do you want to change any number? Because if we're talking about success, having to come to the board with that overtime. I'm just trying to imagine the scenarios without. So if you had to do that each time, that could make this less successful. But I don't know how you change that. Give you more flexibility.
I just added this: the use of vacancy savings and other unobligated funds does not constitute an operating budget modification. Those funds can be used for overtime work occurring without board approval.
Okay.
Does that get us where I can do some overtime up to a point? If there's no free money, then it needs to be a more formal. I would feel comfortable with this. Yep. But I also reiterate that, I mean, every 2 weeks, all of the timesheets are, Clayton's copied on all of those. And so there's no runaway. And we haven't done overtime yet, but I'm also happy to report overtime payouts on the engineer's report if that's something that you'd like to be kept abreast of. I mean, it seems a little minutia oriented, but I'm happy to do that if you want. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I just added this sentence. I read it for the other board members. I'll read it for you. The use of vacancy savings and other unobligated funds does not constitute an operating budget modification. Those funds can be used for overtime work occurring without board approval.
Let's do that.
Okay. They will be on the timesheets, by the way, which are copied to the chairman every 2 weeks. So they're kind of reported, but so there's no, nobody's trying to, but I'm just trying to do whatever I can here to appease the board's issues. Again, this doesn't set an overtime rate or anything.
Right.
This is okay.
I'm not into that.
Let's see here. We have a few other bits in here. This OE does not guarantee an employee will be allowed to work overtime, resulting in the payment of overtime and the accrual of compensation. There's no guarantee, right? That's not something that we promise. Overtime requires pre-authorization whenever possible. Pre-authorization can be verbal, email, or other written form. There was some discussion that some people did not like verbal. We can get this documented differently. Would you like, where are you at with verbal? For instance, I'm on vacation in Belize, and James needs to do some extra work to keep our applications moving. And he gives me a call. Hey, can I work 6 hour extra hours this pay period? Yes, James, go ahead. That will be on the timesheet. Comes through. Is that verbal arrangement enough, or do I need to go? Okay, James, let me get off the zip line.
It's the timesheet, then it's approved. Then it's finally authorized by the timesheet, right?
Yeah, and this is pre-authorization here. So this is a discussion of pre-authorization. And I'm okay to, do this however you want.
What was the concern? That if it were verbal, that there could be a misunderstanding since it wasn't documented?
It won't be more than a 2-week misunderstanding.
So I think part of this too is the size of our office. I could see where if you had 100 employees, you wouldn't want to have a verbal understanding, but when you've got 3 people here, if you can't handle verbal with 3 people, you have much larger problems even.
Well, I do have larger problems, George, but let's not talk about those right now.
So again, is this one of those where you're talking about the flexibility? So. Get rid of the-
Yeah, I haven't seen the verbal written.
It can be in verbal or written form, is that right? I'm sorry, one more time.
Permission can be verbal.
Just the word form.
Thank you. That was better. And I want to keep this sentence in there. If you're working overtime without approval, you risk forfeiture for compensation for hours worked.
Is that last sentence redundant now? Do we need that, or did we just agree to get rid of that
This one here,
authorization work over? It's provided by either the supervisor or the lead?
well, I think I would typically get authorization from the board chair if I needed to work overtime. And I don't think that is a bad arrangement, but are you gonna feel comfortable to A-OK that without having a board action? Because you're designated as the supervisor of the water engineer and the vice chair, that's you if the chair's absent.
My only outlier is pre-authorization can be verbal. I always prefer some kind of documentation. Don't change the language. I'm just saying, even if it's verbal, it seems like somebody should drop somebody an email saying something. Just any kind of documentation better than nothing, simply because of the very thing you just mentioned. That other language, if somebody was overtime that was not authorized, and they say, "Oh no, you authorize it." Oh no, it's to that. You just want to avoid that. I'm not looking for anything extensive, but just even a simple,
Sure.
simple would, then it can be followed up on. It'd be my preference, but that's just me. That's me.
You talked me into it, although it's not my vote.
So you guys can decide. That's my thought.
Much larger office.
That's fine. If you want to stick with verbal, that's fine with me. I'm just It's like I said, just me and I, if you vote on it, I would approve it.
Maybe you should just do a quick show of hands about the written versus verbal so we can,
I think we've got verbal there, I'm okay with it, so
okay.
verbal's fine.
Like you said,
What about that last authorization? Provide for, do we want to keep for the board?
Oh, or the board vice chair, isn't it? Wait, where,
Leading decision.
I think even with who the employees chair group, the OEs.
Yeah.
Over time.
Sorry.
we should change 40 to LE. Supervisor.
okay, I can do that. If I'm all of a sudden gone, would you like to be able to authorize an employee or authorize an employee just in my absence to work overtime? Because this allows you to not, this doesn't limit your authorization to just me. The expectation, I believe, is set that I would provide the authorization for people I'm directly supervising here, but
If a employee called me up and said, I want to work overtime, my first question would be, have you talked to Ethan?
right, and they're like, Ethan's he's still in Belize on a zip line.
Get the answer, say, put the email, Ethan's out of commission.
Right.
First, go.
This is standard fare that you can't be earning that kind of leave when you're taking PTO. I don't really want to change that unless it isn't written clearly. Just
Easy and you look pretty boilerplate.
what do you think? Do you guys feel comfortable with this one? You want to take any action? You want to wait? Yes, sir.
Take a gander at it one more time, just look back good.
Right. Okay. I'm to here or lower. Okay.
You see the full yellow section.
Yes, sir. I think there's a way I can get rid of the page break in the layout view somehow, right?
You're fine.
Okay.
Well, just a couple of ones.
Of course.
Um,
Sure.
say OE and then say water. Office of engineer is different than the water engineer.
Yeah. OE is office of the engineer. Water engineer is the position I hold.
Okay.
Okay. Amy? Going up along with this one to approve it. Yep, all right. So, anybody online for public comment?
No one in attendance online.
No one online, no one in the audience, for the record, no public comment available, so. We are at section 5.04, ready for approval, if you will, please. Make a motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve 5.04 overtime comp and required authorization.
Motion to approve by Georgia. Second by Ken, all in favor, say aye. Aye. None opposed. Approved. Thank you.
On the roll.
Okay, do you want a break? Yes. Yeah. You can take 5 or 10. Okay.
Oh, we're still on the recording. Just 1 second.
Okay, we're back. Everybody online, welcome back. Nobody's in the audience yet, so we will continue. Ethan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Okay, I'm going to suggest now that we move into this section 5.05, which is overtime for non-exempt employees. And in this section, I'll remind the board excuse me, I'll remind the board members that non-exempt employees are a certain category of employees defined by the federal government as being protected under the Fair Labor Standards Act, and that any overtime, this is overtime, not comp time, but any overtime worked by a non-exempt employee will need to be at a minimum of 1.5 times their base pay for any amount of overtime worked. And for us, we do define overtime as any hours worked in excess of 40 per week for a full-time employee.
Okay. Now you say 5.5 overtime. For comp time as well, so entitled for.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I meant like this. Should have highlighted this. So this part.
A1.
Oh, and I see what you're saying right here.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. That's a solid, better. Okay, and Mr. Chairman, board members, regarding comp time, I had done my best to try to explain sub 2 a little bit previous, but some of the board members got hung up on it, which maybe it's my my explanation or writing skills here. I did, I think, largely steal this from the state's options, but what the state does through the Montana DNRC, which doesn't mean that this board needs to do it, but other state agencies do it as well, is that they do offer an opportunity for non-exempt employees to earn comp time at 1.5 times the amount of overtime worked if the employee has a written agreement in place. Now, the written agreement is important to demonstrate that the employee has basically requested and entered into this option, and that it's not being forced upon them in some way that violates the Fair Labor Standards Act. And so what that would really mean is that you would potentially consider, again, at the supervisor's discretion, an option for an exempt employee to work, instead of for a dollar amount at 1.5 times their base rate, for earned time off. And they would earn 1.5 hours of paid time off, for every hour of overtime worked.
Thoughts? I certainly still have some questions. Maybe we're fine. It's the written agreement and the concept that the employee would have to agree to that or be in some violation of some employment practice. Employment practice I'm familiar with is that the employer can decide if you get comp time or overtime, depending on the situation, and it has to be approved ahead of time. The concept that I'm still not following what the written would do or how it would work. If you have an agreement in place, does that mean they only get comp time?
I think, Mr. Chairman, board members, I think that the agreement could specify that arrangement, and so just as a hopeful extra clarification. First of all, any time worked over 40 by an non-exempt employee has to be, at the approval in advance of their supervisor. So then the second phase of that is, well, how do you compensate for time worked over 40 that the supervisor extended as an opportunity for a non-exempt employee? And it either has to be at 1.5 pay, or if that non-exempt employee so decided to enter into a written agreement, then we could have the option of paid time off. And I will remind the board that because I recognize that this is complicated, that an option is to just delete all that grayed out area and then say if a non-exempt employee works over 40, we just pay him at time and a half, period.
Well, I'm personally okay with either comp time or overtime. I'm just not completely understanding the agreement. Yeah.
So is this an agreement? Is this I agree with it, or is that need to work overtime next week?
Sure. So the way that the state has done it, and I would fashion this just after what I know, not for any reason other than familiarity, is that they would draft something that says, okay, for the next fiscal year or for 1 year or for some known period of time, that we enter into an agreement, any overtime worked will be comp time earned at 1 point. So yeah, so you just decide what you want, but it is person by person. So it definitely needs to, because, and the reason it's that way is because if you were to impose comp time on somebody without a written agreement, you could potentially be in violation of the Fair Labor Standards Act.
That's the part that I'm not following. Maybe that's the case. I'm not familiar with it. We never have the word. We just always said that if we need somebody to work overtime, and then we need to get comp time or overtime, the employer decides or not.
Sure. And the reason that some non-exempt employees would like to have this option is, you just start a job here and you don't have much for leave, but you'd like to take off some time that's not leave without pay for an upcoming, Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever. Hey, I don't know. Do you happen to have like 3,000 water right applications that need to be reviewed that I could work a little extra time on? And I mean, yes, sir. Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. I just want to feel what happened. So we can, not employees.
So
If
we,
somebody signs an agreement. Comp time says that they're okay with comp time versus overtime. Then during the course of the year, they can only get comp time. Or they will also have the option of getting overtime pay.
I think that the agreement could specify what works for the employee and the supervisor. Again, any such agreement would be at the discretion of the supervisor. And any acceptance of comp time instead of overtime pay would be at the discretion of the employee. So it is truly an agreement.
So once we get through this section, even if we approve it, the language that you're talking about, the exact language that you're talking about, I'd like to see that because I'm just not familiar. I don't need it now.
Sure. I can.
Some point I need.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, board members, I'll.
Sorry, Mike. No, you were busy. Thanks for making. Yes.
We will, at present, we only have one position that will be in this category, which is administrative assistant position. And in that position class for the next hiring, my intention is to try to hire that. And if somebody applied who was qualified at the water resources specialist, I would hire at the water resources specialist level, which would then be an exempt employee. However, the admin position, I have every intention, if I pick somebody up there, to train them towards the water resources specialist position. So my point is that even if we hire a non-exempt employee, if they've got aptitude, they will eventually be exempt from Fair Labor Standards Act. And that would happen through personnel actions and a promotion plan and a clarification on a new position description.
I think it works great for a really small office too. I think if this were a lot bigger office, then, you know, some of the concerns you raised, like, make a lot of sense. But while we're little,
Board members, for what it's worth, it's not my ideal for how to get work done because it does come at a premium. You know,
I just think we shouldn't have to have an agreement.
but when we get to exempt employees, you don't need an agreement.
They get a sometime over. That's just me. That's just me. Again. So if we're ready to approve 5.05. I'm gonna take public comment. Anybody on public comment yet online? On the record here?
Yeah, we have one person online, please make a comment. You raise your hand, allow you to speak.
Public comment at this time.
No public comment, Mr. Chairman.
So at this point, now I'll take the motion. to approve. Motion approved. 5.05, motion to approve by Tim.
I'll second.
Second by George. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 5.06, similar story, but in this case, we're talking about exempt employees. Now, under the Fair Labor Standards Act, the OE is not required to pay 1.5 times an employee's base rate for overtime. On this section, we had a lot of back and forth, and there's some comments that I can't seem to see over here, but I haven't really gone in and tried to clean things up too much because I didn't want to accidentally interrupt the discussion that was occurring over here in the margins. So, and let's see. I think we did get that one addressed last go around. All right. In the discussion about the comp time and overtime and the earning rates, I did get instructed to check with legal to see if it violates the exempt employee policy. And the answer from both them and the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act help desk is that if an employer designates a position as exempt, but decides to compensate them for whatever they decide to compensate for hours worked over 40, it does not modify or put at risk the employer's or the employee's exempt status. So in other words, I am an exempt employee. This board decided, we really needed this special project done. We don't have anybody else to do it. Ethan, we're going to pay you as an exempt employee 1.5 times your base rate for 10 hours that it's going to take you on a weekend to get this buttoned up. Okay. And that would not put at risk my exempt status, nor would it offer any guarantee in the future of a similar pay rate. That said, it doesn't mean anything beyond you have the option. Like what you decide to do is really different. I will mention that a lot of the exempt employees make a higher hourly wage typically, and salary is a factor on whether an employee is or is not exempt. So when we get over into talking about this 1.5 rate, certainly I'm going to, as I manage budgets and staff time, I'm going to be a little more reluctant on exempt employees to look at a higher, at 1.5 times the rate. But we may, is it good to have that option in the back pocket in a situation where something's a big deal and we have an employee who, doesn't really want to be working over 40, but maybe that enticement happens. Furthermore, I think you could also parse this out by either hourly wage or be specific to positions. So if the board was like, okay, we might consider 1.5 time compensation for water resource specialists, but not for water engineers, right? That kind of determination could easily go in here.
My brain is thinking simply you've got exempt and non-exempt
need to be more complicated than that. In terms of the rent employee language you have there.
Down this way.
To the piece that was highlighted. Huh? Yeah, so, I'm curious where board members are with regard to.
I come back to the success question. And wording it this way to give pay to exempt employees gives another tool in the toolkit. But I think it does need some framework to it. Like I was thinking, would you want to include a not to exceed clause?
You know, I want to take the words out of my mouth, not to exceed, would be helpful to me. So that, you know, you can get the ability to say, well, 0.5 or 0.5 exceed.
I was even thinking not to exceed a certain number of hours. Right, because at the higher end of the pay scale, this could start affecting the budget pretty quickly. So I don't mind having the tool to pay an exempt employee, given the amount of work that I see coming at us. I could see where that could be helpful. But I also see where it can bust a budget. So if you could say not to exceed, and like you were saying, Ethan, maybe to not include you in there, that would also keep the budget in check, unless, you know, I don't know what you've got coming, and I don't know what kind of workload. I'm looking at Roger, you've had to process these as well. Given the workload that we know is going to be hitting this office, and we've only got 3 people, I anticipate there's going to be a need for overtime work to process a lot of these.
Where I, based on what you just said, where I'm at is if we're going to do that at all, I don't have any problem including anything in that in the tool, because we should. Not to exceed, to me, I was thinking not to exceed the 1.5 times, but if you wanted to say per hour, like within a pay period, you could do that, but I don't know what that number would be, so yeah. Same.
Or, this on almost in time. One ways written now are care, like their work function. How many hours? Versus having a meeting on making a bunch of candy hours.
Right.
We're so tight that we can't handle hours for overtime. So I get nervous about not to exceed number of hours. We don't know what that should be based on what you're saying, based on budget. So I just the way that it's written, I like it because I'm inferring that's what it is. Now,
Yeah, I was thinking, you know, the last meeting we had, I think it was the last meeting we had talked about, there would be that time period potentially where there'd be no funding coming in. You could have that 2 months or whatever. And I guess that's what was going through my mind, but you're right. If you take another look at this, the way it's written, there's already oversight built in. So keep it simple.
And board members, just that "and" is right in here. And this is under the section that's talking about this 1.5 arrangement. And in contrast, when you're up here, and make sure that you're all right. I don't want to skip over or glass over the significance of earning, comp time or additional pay at 1.0 times, but this is tied, to the supervisor, okay? And approval of the supervisor, similar to, you know, how it would occur, you know, with an exempt employee. Yeah, and that's a hard and. The way it's written right now doesn't mean that you have to agree to it, but that was the intention, because I do recognize that 1.5, you know, is a significant, either in personnel time, by the way, although you can talk about budget, when you start digging a hole where an employee is working and getting time and a half off for every hour worked, you're really offsetting, because you have to pay later for, you know, you have to pay for 3 hamburgers tomorrow for 2 hamburgers you got today. Something like that from Popeye, I think it was.
So you got A, 1 and 2, and then you go to B. Under B, if you just said not to exceed 1.5, that takes care of your A, 1 and 2. You can go 0.5, 1, 1.5, right? Not to exceed. Just that way you don't even have to have A, 1 and 2. That would be my thought, but that's just, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me, and I apologize, man. It is.
It says 1 time, so that is comp time and overtime. So you're just earning straight time, right? But if you go down to B, where it says you have to have approval for 1.5, you can just change 1.5 to not to exceed 1.5. That would include your 1.5 all the way up to, you wouldn't have to.
Kind of off on a sliding scale other than fixed.
Well, he's got either 1 or 1.5 there. I'm just saying up to 1.5 gives you actually more flexibility to decide, could be even 0.5. Could be 1, could be 0.5, could be 1.25. I don't know. Just a thought.
Especially with that, is that when you're doing one thing, most certain. One.
And for what it's worth, if I was going to work comp time at 1.0 or additional pay at 1.0, I would still need to go to the board chair or the vice chair in the absence of the chair, because that's my supervisor as defined by the. So that's just for me, but I just wanted you to bring up here that A doesn't give me the right to go working overtime at 1.0 without getting somebody to give me some written permission to do that. Well, no, B wouldn't, because it's B has written approval of the water engineer and the board chair or the board vice chair. Yeah, I don't look at it that way. I'll be honest. I wrote this expecting that I was not ever going to get time and a half, but maybe, you know, whatever. I just, if I did, I guess I'd need to give myself permission. I have to look deep into that, still get permission from the board of the board chair. But do be familiar here, though. This is not permission from the board as a whole. This is, you know, this is from the board or the board, or the chair or the vice chair. anyway.
So just a quick question back on A. As supervisor. There, if I'm reflecting on my work chart, are there any sub supervisors? Or is that better worded for the office?
Okay, let's just tackle this. Like this. Does that get it? What you're sort of talking about here?
Some level supervisor that you don't even know about it.
It's a good point. I mean, we don't have that sort of structure here, and I think it's unlikely we will, but I don't want to have comp time and overtime happening without, I mean, like what, at least while I have this job, I wouldn't want to have that happening without being a part of that written, that permission, because, but I think it's a good catch.
So,
Did I poorly write it, Ken? Okay. Oh, sorry.
Not familiar about some of what you're asking for, and I'll get that policy. The other thing I'm unfamiliar with is the what you have there. On-time overtime at 1.0 times your current time and rate. When what I'm familiar with is if we require anyone to work on time or work overtime, we're required to give them comp time. Then in place, they go over that 40 hours, we're required to pay overtime or give them comp at 1.5. It wasn't an option, so this is a curious option for me. That's our employees. No, no. Well, non-exempt, but that adds to this because we never gave exempt employees comp time or overtime, period. It just comp time or overtime do not get, exempt employees do not get comp time or overtime. But if we're gonna do this, that's just a comment that I thought was it's just unusual to me. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I was curious. I have been sitting here trying to find a copy. Maybe I just did the CSKT personnel policy. Is that what you're referring to? Like what you're accustomed?
Yeah.
Because there are several citations that refer back to the state policy, but none that refer also to the private policy. I think I just found it. We had to dig to get it though.
Well, I had answered your comment about this is that I didn't know what that policy is. But okay.
I just found it, but it would be interesting, since we're going forward, is that something we need? And I'm just asking, is that something we need to be cognizant of, that our policies reflect both?
I don't know if I'm trying to say we need to, I'm just saying that's my understanding how it works. If under the law, and federal rules, we're allowed to do this, I'm just not familiar. Just because where I come from, if you're an exempt employee, you don't qualify for comp time overtime. You might have to work 41 or 50 or 100 hours in a week. But you don't get comp time off. If you're an exempt employee. We're gonna do this, I'm just simply commenting. The 1.5, if we're going to pay a comp time. Say if they're non-exempt, we were required to pay 1.5. So to go to the option of saying 1.0 times, okay. But that
Yeah.
seems to be a different kind of time, but that's fine.
Seems like in the federal side. That's in the- I think that's in the federal side.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But when I get overtime, it's not one, higher than 1.
Get the kind of, you get comp time off.
So I found it's on page 11 of the tribe's personnel policy. And comp time and paid overtime only occur for non-exempt. And exempt employees can get comp time only, which is just what you can say. So, but there is a tribal policy.
That's not quite what he was saying.
No, it isn't, and they have changed their personnel policy over time. If if it allows something, I just know all the time I worked, I never even thought about, I was exempt, I never thought about trying to get compounded any time. So, but that's fine.
Maybe the discussion we should have is policy.
That's my question. Do we want to do this? Do we, I mean, if this is what we want to do, I think we can probably make it work and find the rules to support it. That's my, do we want to do that?
So I've been sitting here trying to look up the FSLA stuff. Cutoffs. And for the most part, they classify an exempt employee as somebody that's in a management role. And has a salary of about $100,000. For a lot of computer people are exempt. They're looking at on call. I guess it comes back to how we want to classify the employee. I look at almost water rights specialists, non-exempt employees, because they're not making decisions, they're processing applications. You know, I think it comes back to how we classify these people. Ethan is the general manager. He's in an administrative role. He's definitely an exempt employee. So I think it comes back to that, and then we can, you know, I mean, we can zero in on this first, or we can zero in on the exemptions. This classifications first, but I think we need to have that discussion also.
Mr. Chairman, board members, for what it's worth, the water rights specialist 2 positions with the state are all classified as exempt. And that is where my starting point launched on determining what exempt or non-exempt employees should be. And it has to do with the amount of technical knowledge required for the job. So there's 3 different main factors, maybe 4, that go into determining whether or not an employee is exempt or non-exempt. It's the expertise and technical knowledge required for the job. If there's a positive education requirement, that becomes a factor. If it's a management or executive type work, that becomes a factor, and then the salary. And you guys did actually, I think, I'm going to go back up to exempt and non-exempt section. because I think you did approve, and I could be wrong. Nope, you did not approve it. Sorry for, I should have probably started at 4.02. I actually mistakenly thought it was
I see
approved.
your point, but I think ultimately we're gonna have exempt employees and non-exempt employees. So the discussion that we're having with the other and how they apply, I think is still valid, because the question is whether or not we're going to have on time, overtime, or exempt employees. And that gets to, that's the, do we allow it? If we allow it, then what are the rules? And that's what we're trying to say.
Keep coming back to, we know we're gonna have heavy lifting workloads ahead of us. So how do we get that done without offering, like if James is non-exempt, how do we get it done without him? Right, if we can't pay him extra, or give him comp time, some combination of the two. So
So one of the things that it's, not to question the accuracy, but if it's accurate that exempt employees, if we have exempt employees, we can allow some time overtime. That's the rule. Not familiar with it, but I'm fine with it. I think we can do that. But if we can make that decision, we're gonna do it, yes or no, and if so, then what do we do?
Well, this is really about offering the opportunity, right? We still gotta get approved. More about
Vice Chair, for the case of the engineer, and giving the engineer roles and authority to do it for others. If they are, yeah. Having said that, here's 4.02, so we're kind of bouncing here. But there's something you want to focus on here.
And this is language that you wanted included here when we had this previous discussion. Is to transcend the general description of exempt and non-exempt employees and to specify
Defining position.
who is or is not.
And I'm familiar with that too, because
Mhm.
We're trying to be the personnel office here as well, and I'm familiar with the fact that we have as many employees as we have. They were specific about which employees were. No, they were able to generalize it a bit, because in our situation, the program managers and above are all good line.
Yeah, for what it's worth, board,
By position is probably gonna work.
I would probably want to refine this list a little bit. I did talk to the state, but between drafting this and now I've talked to some folks at the state Human Resources Division. And I do think that a water resources specialist 1 should be up in more in the exempt category. And so, I would probably do this, let's do it.
Hire you to
You don't. What is the price?
Then we need to, define it and modify the list. You might think, so we include the language. But it's not necessarily.
Now, we did leave it like that before, and you guys wanted me to specifically put the, because once it's in here, it's not the office of the engineer anymore, it's the board, right? So, you can convince me to go either way on this. It doesn't hurt me to have that in there. But I also see your point, Mr. Chairman, you know, if you're gonna add a new title, you just amend the org chart. You know, add a hydrographer or something in here. Oops.
but not only two or.
I'm sorry. Include but are not. Oh gosh. That's the only thing.
Right? Yep. But I learned why, that's.
And so Roger, this was specifically in relation to, you know, what I thought were some items that you brought up to be addressed. And yeah, I try to do it here by referencing the CFR. For me, I've never been fully staffed. So my perspective is I hope to one day be shooing people away from their desks at 40 hours a week.
We get to a point where we are fully staffed, we can always come back and change this.
Wouldn't we can change it, but we can't change the leave earned. Right. So just for perspective, that would be something that will get us in trouble. So somebody goes in, they earn a bunch of comp. According to this, you can change their comp earning from that point forward, but nothing retroactive. Yeah.
Get points for restraint. And sitting right next to the, only having.
Well,
Well, board members, since we got redirected to 4.02, is it worth taking maybe you run it? You feel more comfortable now that we talked about this section and looked over it a little bit? Please do it. Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA.
There's, there was something we have to resolve before we want to that. We could go back to the next. You want that second printed out? Okay. Before we're done, can we get 4.2 printed out?
Well, how about I'm going to probably move. I am going to accept these changes just to make it a little easier to read, but not with any intent to push you into something that you know. So
Something to read.
anyway, okay.
And we can go back to the other.
Okay, so we got that one. We were down to overtime for exempt employees. After a small siesta over in the exempt section, exempt and non-exempt definition section. You know, this, I don't know that this necessarily needs to be in there, but it give, you know, it was added in here to offer context to why some of this policy was written the way it was. We'll get it though. Title 29. So is it like Title 29, comma, CFR? Okay. Okay, so we're good on this highlighted section. Now we've talked about this. Everything is written, which includes a brief email, possibly text. That's not my preference, but you know,
I'm just learning. I mean, this is all. We're trying to mix and match and trying to make it work. And as long as it's also allowable, then I think we can. Then it's up to us to decide. I'm fine. Necessary.
not protected. That LSA counts, but that's not an example. So I think not protected is not the right. There. Right.
No, we could just do this.
And as such,
That, get it? Is that it? Yep. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, let's do it.
start off at second section, however,
Can I add the board here? I'd actually rather do. I can sit and, pick it around. And it, for everybody's understanding, we will have a clean sweep for errors. Nothing substantive will get changed during the clean sweep, but that's the intention with these documents. What do you think, board? Are you? Still have nobody else online? Okay.
Oh, wait. You mean the first part?
And
So the purpose of that whole paragraph is sort of an introduction for the preamble to what is. But if we could call it that, or we do another option might be take that section, that paragraph and take it a footnote. Yeah, he does footnote. He says no, and I think that's really all it is. It just needs to be set the framework.
And help the board justify its decisions here.
what if we put a little word commitment that says, and that will do what it does. Cross out around the. What do we say? Will consider compensate. Get rid of all of that. Do voluntary thinking. Is like this is better than.
Yeah.
Word.
Is that what you're getting at there? Okay.
Roll through the rest of that section quickly.
I'm gonna leave this underline in here unless somebody has an opposition to it. That's not a track change. That's an actual underline. Emphasis.
And I guess I do like it, the way it's written, as it's, me, I see it as. It's opportunity. Not a commitment.
Yes.
And it's clearly charted as not a guarantee, earlier in approved section on overtime and compensation time.
Ready for a vote? Yeah, okay, any comments?
There's no public, on.
Public to comment for the record, no public comment, there is no public to comment. For the rest of the day. So, based on that, if you're ready, for approval of the motion. Not ready to speak up, so we can, have further discussion.
Just waiting because Ken and I've already done it. I move that we approve section 5.06 overtime. with exemption.
Then all in favor, say aye. Aye. See Roger's wheels turning.
Yep.
See the wheels.
I just keep coming back to what you said. We can always change this in the future, right? So,
Well, and the other thing is that it's allowable. It's allowable, I mean. Sure, we're good there and that's what we want to do, let's do it.
Mr. Chair, board members, I have other priorities, but it seems like an opportunity here to just kill off the rest of the section on things that are slightly easier. Travel, mileage, and lodging rates. They look a lot like the state travel, mileage, and lodging arrangements. Addendum 3 is just a citation to the state's per diem regs. This just accepts that. And it is what the board has done for itself as well. So it would be consistent with what's in the board's bylaws.
with that, because this is a state and tribal board, I sometimes want to see both sided, right? Follow those of the state of Montana and the CSKT. Is that?
The SKT pays more.
Yeah, then, yeah, the standards.
Okay, they don't match up. Okay.
So it's just,
Mhm.
I think it's simpler to do.
State, the rates are not state of Montana. State rate.
They change with inflation and gas prices.
I mean, just to get around.
Yeah.
Because we keep
To
citing
make
the
it
state
like we're leaning toward, yeah, I do.
and we're worried about the optics of that. So I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, we don't want this to appear to just be a state board.
I do agree, I'm not sure how to get around it.
I would recognize that too.
They said the only other way to do it would be the more neutral way, would be to set the rates, state the rates and not say they're based on state of Montana or the client. And then if things change, then you have to change the rates.
Months.
Ken's got an idea.
You said I'm really high.
Ken. Take out of the state.
I can take the word state of Montana off of addendum 3 as well. And, but, yeah. So, okay, eventually.
507, 508.
Hmm. That look right? You guys feel like you could do this as a package?
Oh.
I'll go there. I gotta move our little window here. Okay, so I'm on page 26.
So is the tribal rate higher because it's federal? Is that the?
Hmm. So here's what we have in here on addendum 3 at this time. You know, and frankly, I don't even know if it's out of date already because that was through, that was from April to September. I'm gonna have to work on, oops, I'm gonna have to work on that. Maybe on. I don't know. I'll highlight it or something. It's deleting addendum 3 too. Oh, I know what to do. Well, that's a good thing. Maybe we could specify how those change. Back at oh god, I forgot what page I was on now. It was a 5. It would be nice not to have to redo it. You come here every time the state changes it. I'm reaching here.
Yeah, why don't you just say periodically revise.
Can I be so bold as to say with the understanding that it's just gonna track those state rates and hold on though. These changes will be locked up with changes made to travel mileage and lodging rates used by the board. Oh, yeah.
Or modify addendum 3 to match what you put for FRWMB. Addendum. I forget what you called it. Cool.
Like this, is that it? And then you told me to delete that last one, right? Okay. Oh. We ready for that? Whoops.
Seconded by Georgia, all in favor, say aye. And for the record, we took no public comment because there's no public to comment. Thank you. No public present to comment.
Okay, thank you. Lord. Oh my goodness.
Take a break. All right, take 5. Thank you.
Out of us.
I was gonna say, better attack those cookies.
Yeah, I don't want to take a
Those
call.
are,
I guess.
I helped Georgia out.
I lose. The smart man, Shane, get over here. I have no idea if my dog is eating my dinner too, so that could happen again. If anybody would like to adopt a very badly mannered husky, please let me know. Anyone available?
I'll get my homework.
She's awful. Yeah, my husband's like, let's see if somebody will take her. I'm like, no one will. That's why we have her. They're eternal. They live forever, don't they?
Yeah. It's when, you know,
That's, yeah, that's when it gets bad.
it was my wife's, wouldn't have anything to do with anybody but her. So I didn't have anything.
Well, I got this dog and I brush her teeth, I brush her coat, I do all these things for her. I buy her toys and she's my husband's dog. I don't exist to her. I am dead to her. Which is why she eats my food, does everything else. So she's pretty, she's cute, but you know, that's really all she's got going for her right now. We had the world's best dog. The dog before her we had for 18 years. It was this mixed breed mud that was great for hunting. It was great with kids. Super obedient. I used to tell people if this dog were a person, it would have been somebody's English butler. Like it wouldn't get on the furniture. It didn't bark. It was perfectly mannered. We took no credit for it. It just came to us this way. Like if it was a bird dog or a water dog, it had a lot of lab in it. So he'd get in the water and when
Moving on.
Might need to say that again, Mr. Chairman. Just DNRC staff. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, board members, if you will, I'm going to try to drag you back to cell phone reimbursements.
No.
All right,
I did actually provide you a copy of an updated cost benefit advantage of bring your own devices that would demonstrate how much we will save per year if we compensate OE staff for the use of their cell phones as compared to buying cell phones. I'm not 100% sure where we left this. We have talked about it before.
We approved it before, so
that's what I remember.
yeah, it got approved as is at $30. That's all per month.
And is that where the board's at, firm on $30 a month?
once it's approved, yeah, I think we approved it, yeah. And so, yeah,
Okay.
So. It's not about the extra money. Then I use myself.
Well, we use our cell phones to maintain security for this office with multi-factor authentication. And I guess where I'm at with our cell phones, we don't need to have any ping and we don't want to do managed devices here. But I don't think $30 is enough.
Well, Wet doesn't compensate you. Everybody, there's 100 employees at Wet that have cell phones. Everybody uses their cell phone. The number is on the business card. So I think $30 is a reasonable rate.
You know, I don't know what our rate was, but we did allow. What we call it, but a shared. When we would pay for a portion of an employee's cell phone charges. I don't know what our limit, but I never did figure. So I'm familiar with doing it, but what the limit is. I mean, 30, we set 30.
The state does 50. I suggest 60 because we don't have very good alternatives compared to what the state does. And 30 is not going to do it for me, which is okay. If that's the limit, I'm going to tell you to, quit using my cell phone. I'm going to instruct the board to quit contacting me on my personal cell phone at this rate, and which is fine. If that's the board's determination on this rate, I can accept that, but we're going to need to go a different direction. For now, and then the board will have to decide if they want to buy a cell phone or not, and then I won't be able to monitor multiple security features and contact with employees, contact with board members, and things that I do on my personal cell phone that are at the advantage of this board and this office.
Almost sounds very.
It's not a threat. It's a decision that I get to make. It's my phone, and this is the rate you're offering, and I accept that. And I'm just saying no. That's not high enough for me to use my personal cell phone, because I do pay for additional services to accommodate the use here.
So, um, you know, okay, this is right. The first one. I'm just thinking out loud here. Just kind of rambling with my own personal struggle. So I'm running the risk. My phone is. Yeah, just thinking, just talking out loud, I risk that I'm.
You get compensated.
Yeah, so I'm, maybe I missed part where maybe we do consider this as an option as opposed to providing phone. Because when I said the tribe had the program of paying for part of your home bill, that wasn't the only option. Employees could get a work phone, and I had two phones. I never signed on to use it, so for that to pay for a personal phone. I had a work phone. Now I use both, but I had two phones. I'm familiar with that. So we should be moving toward using work phone. This would be alternative, but I think we need to really consider that.
I think it comes back, maybe we need to revisit Kim's good thoughts about security and what you shared about 16. How likely is that, and how much do we need to keep a separation, because that would depend on which way we go, correct? So. And I'm no good in this conversation, I mean, as an educator. We bring our own paper to school, right? So.
Your phones are all subject to subpoena. If I have a private phone, it doesn't keep the court from asking for the records.
And the fear is that it would apply to us too, so we potentially have that option for us. Board member.
You can export text conversations from particular parties. And I have seen scenarios where that was sufficient. But the other thing, the best way around that is to use your phone to email. So instead of texting, which is convenient, if you have any real business other than I'm 5 minutes late, you email. So even though you're using your phone, you're actually still using the FRWMB.gov email address. That's your phone's just a conduit for that. And but just throwing that out there, the court can subpoena whatever they want. I mean, the fact that you have two phones doesn't keep you from having your personal cell phone subpoenaed, because they don't know that you have or have not conducted additional business on your personal cell phone without subpoena. Right.
From that risk or lack of risk, whatever it is, see this is an option, and we should be looking at providing work phones. Even if they're flip phones. Because the phone I had, this is my personal phone, the phone I had for work was a flip phone. Now, they don't have to be flip phones, I'm just suggesting that we look at that and build that into this, and this becomes an option, not our only choice.
I thought about what? I mean, that'd be fine. I won't carry it around after hours though.
I think, you look into phone, plans. I pay four phones right now about $160 a month. And that included the price of the phone. It's a 3-year contract. So, maybe we want to look into a plan for the office.
So our current technology allows you to forward the office phone to your cell phone and provides seamless coverage on a cell phone as if it is the office phone. So that kind of negates the need to have the specific cell phone number tied there. I did offer projections that I talked to Verizon. I got estimates for how much it would cost for 6 people to have cell phones in this office, and it's substantial. It's on a spreadsheet in your packet. We're talking for everybody, here at full build out, we'd be spending around $4,000 on BYOD stipends. And that would result in a savings of like almost $14,000 compared to having our own cell phones.
I want to revisit something you said, just wanted to understand the logic. You indicated that if you, or I just want to make sure I understand. So if you had a compensation for use of your personal cell phone at a rate that you agreed to, you would answer your cell phone in the evening. But if it's a phone we buy for you, you won't.
Yeah, I'll probably just leave it here because I don't want to carry two phones around.
Let's see.
What do you mean? It is to me. I'm not gonna leave my phone here because it's not a work phone.
Regardless.
Yeah, I think if there's an emergency with this building, that is what happens. So there's a security system that's hooked up to my phone right now that goes off if somebody breaks in here or catches on fire. If there are pressing personnel issues that are before and after hours, I do get those notices on my phone.
Well, I think it's part of your job to carry that phone around it, be in the office of the, whether, you can't just leave it. That is all tied to your phone, and you just can't leave it here, or you've got to delegate that to somebody else to do something. I mean, I'd say that's one of your job duties.
It's not listed in my job duties, but the other part of that is I think that if I'm using my cell phone, you could give me, comparably fair rate to do that and save yourself a bunch of money. And I don't understand what the argument is, honestly. I mean, I'm offering you something that's a huge savings, and you're just like, you're
Reevaluate the cost savings. I didn't have time to look at that.
I have distributed this to you numerous times.
Approved. And some of the things on here, I don't see any approval. Some of the things on here were changed. This isn't even correct what we've got up here.
Okay.
You need to go back and look at the minutes of the meeting, because I can see mistakes.
All right. I do think that there was a misunderstanding between us on whether or not that got approved.
End of the meeting, unanimous vote, as I recall.
I thought we approved. Let's go back and double check whether or not it was approved. In any case, it's our understanding it was approved. You're asking for a reconsideration based on the information you provided here. So we'll take the information and review it. But the question is whether or not we can this or not, and if we need to postpone any changes to it at this time until we get that cleared up and everybody gets a chance to re-review this. Now, the other thing, though, we need to look at whether or not we want to look at the option of providing office hours or an office, a separate thing. So that the packages that include several things. So. So at this point, let's move off of the cell phone discussion. At least we have consensus to at least look at office cell phone as an option. All right. We'll have you also take a look at that, so when we come back, we can take a look.
But yeah, Mr. Chairman, I did actually estimate off of cell phones, and that is by calling Verizon and asking how much it would cost. And that is in this spreadsheet on the back page. I mean, I did not price out flip phones or something more affordable, but we would definitely need to have, for the multi-factor authorization to work, we got to have smartphones. Because there are apps that for us to operate, we have to have an RSA security app to access the state VPN. Okay, and the state does offer a dongle, but we don't have those for that. We have to have the Microsoft authorization app, and that's coming for all of us to access our email. You will be ushered in, it's going to be a mandatory thing from Microsoft anyway, where you have to have that app in order to sign on to your email. So you'll have the authorization on your phone. You sign on through Microsoft authorization app. You know, you'll sign on your email. It says, type in the code that you just got sent, and then you type that in, and that's how, you know, that's how the security system works.
All you do is log on and type in that number and it pops up. You have about 5 seconds to hit it. And if you don't hit it in that window, it'll give you a new number. Type in that. And actually, Google even provides the same app. So
I'm not saying that the app costs money. You do have to have a phone for it to work.
everybody's that dual authentication system.
So if you would like me to add something else to this, happy to do it.
Anything at this time you want to add? Okay, if there is, in the meantime, we'll get back to this. Let's share that by email. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. This is the part of the day where it is choose your own adventure. Is there a section in the personnel policies the board would like to specifically look at and consider?
I would say unless you have a priority, I'd say we go to the next item on the list that needs approval.
All right, it looks like we were making our way through policy set 4. Would you like to go down to actions regarding reports submitted?
First, if you have something else, let's do it. Move on.
All right, Mr. Chairman, board members, section 4.07, actions regarding reports submitted. This has to do on whether there is a report of harassment, discrimination, retaliation, and the OE and the board's commitment to investigate such a report. And this is how we would try to comply with our mission statement of being a retaliation, discrimination, and harassment-free workplace. This was largely, this language originated from some personnel policies that I inherited when I started here that I believe Ken and was it Georgia or Teresa that worked on those with associated employers?
Lisa and I both did.
And Teresa gave me some verbal feedback that I tried to include here, and this is where we're at. Sure. Which do you like better?
So let me take this further. Um, Following an investigation of any written complaint filed alleging a violation of this action. Let's see, let's go up above. If an investigation confirmed that violations of policy has occurred, what would constitute a violation of the policy, and what is the policy that's being violated?
Shall I go to 3.2?
Is that where it's
I
at?
think that's where it's at. Let's go up here. Oh, I guess it's updated to 3.19, reporting requirements and procedures.
to even with conflicting together, um, are we defining harassment, discrimination, and retaliation?
We do. Bear with me. I'm just gonna go a little faster. This is the harassment definition, is the upper half. Let's see, there's. Yep, that's all of it.
That's helpful. So, I don't know if these have been included, but in both of those other sections, you might want to just build into the paragraph reference to those definitions from section number. That's it.
And is this definition of harassment work for the? I mean, I'm not trying to pitch anything. This is copied from other work. So. Yep. Oh, I got that. This is a next step is like, maybe since we're here, does this definition of harassment meet with what the board wants to define as harassment?
Terms,
Discrimination and retaliation.
discrimination, and retaliation.
Do you want to do this one?
As a batch. Discrimination is not there, is it? No. Retaliation. Yes. Do you have a definition for discrimination? How do you look at it?
What do you want to do?
What it isn't?
Wait.
You have harassment and retaliation. Don't have, unless it's someone that I have not seen discrimination.
Does not look like there is a separate discrimination policy. Or definition, excuse me. I misspeak.
One, the other one, and then the mark going up.
You go down to the
Well,
section.
harassment definition, do you want to approve that, or you want to go on to, what was the other one? Okay. Nobody online yet? Oh. No public comment opportunity, there is no public comment available to comment at this time. We're on 3.03 harassment definition, if you want to approve. Yeah. Second by Roger, all in favor, say aye.
Yeah. Board members, did you want me to add? So we do have a definition for retaliation. Should we jump into that one now? Okay.
By the time we get back to it, you can have another, you can have a definition for. What was it, harassment? Discrimination.
I would be very pleased if some board member would volunteer to give me a definition for discrimination.
Guys, if somebody has one, you can send it to them.
Yeah, okay.
The only other thing about the typing definition, that section we were looking at on reporting is, we list those three things: harassment, retaliation, and discrimination. What crosses my mind is, what if there is some issue that doesn't fit in one of those categories that needs to be not necessarily in. Yeah. So, point is that, personnel issues are complex, and so if somebody decide they want to, they have an issue with something, and they want to file a case. It doesn't meet one of those definitions. So, something wrong.
That doesn't help that much. Sorry. Underground on the last. That was a good catch.
For the record, any public to comment, public comment that is available, so. No public comment. You ready?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve section 3.04 retaliation definition.
Georgia. Second, they can, all in favor, say aye.
Mr. Chairman, board members, it looks like there's some information here under equal employer, employment, employer. That gets at the definition of discrimination without it perhaps being so explicit as to call it a definition of discrimination. Do you think that this language is good enough to? Yeah, agreed. Maybe we could, I think it gets at the definition without necessarily being quite as explicit as the above two, but.
I think having one helps because further down when you talk about reporting, and somebody's going to report something, if it's not defined, if it's defined, then there's got some basic. No, maybe so. Head nods. Ready for approval, so, again, no. Public available to make comment at this time, so public comment. Section 3.05. So ready to approve of this motion? Come back in.
Aye.
So we bebopped around a little bit, but maybe we could go ahead and just start at the top of policy set 3 and get these other two and just work through all of policy set 3, absent some redirection. Understood. And where are we?
452. 3.01 and finish it up.
All right, we get these two in here maybe. Public trust, public duty. Holding the OE employment is a public trust created by the confidence that the electorate responses in the integrity of public employees. They're not actually right this.
Yeah. And we think it'd be elected or public. Public trust. More. I don't know how many. Kind of titles off and
frame it differently?
I just. Trust in principles of states and so on, so. We'll sell out lands, can't sell out this. This is one. Let's have an esoteric definition and it's compared.
What would be a advantage?
Just.
That whole first one is kind of a frivolous, ambiguous thing. Just delete it.
Is it a community service?
When I Google public trust on my phone, the first thing that comes up is what is a public trust position? Government employment requires hiring responsible people for judicious roles such as managing finances. Oh. Like that? Okay. And again, I'm not trying to defend this. I'm just trying to add some information, the best I can here. So.
Well, and then electorate, could we substitute FRWMB or something?
I think that this is in reference to those that created the law that created the FRWMB and this office. The greater electorate, which would be the tribal council, the state of Montana, elected officials, the federal government, elected officials, and other public trust positions. Again, though, not trying to defend it, just I think that's what it means here. Created by the confidence that the electorate body's response. Go like that.
Yeah.
I do think I tinkered with this. So if you don't like that one, you can throw something at me.
Well, you say not to argue, but we argue. Only employment, public trust, created by the confidence that the electorate bodies, the OE position created by. So we're saying it's created by the ordinance. We select the OE. So is this public trust toward the OE or toward the board? I'm just trying to clarify what that sentence means. Okay.
I thought this was gonna be an easy one.
No, that's fine. It's fine. I just wanted this question again. The OE employment. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Yeah, I think the whole.
Yeah, and if we were to move away from the concept public trust, maybe public confidence. Doesn't sound like a good title. Or do you approve? The head nods. No public comment available, since there's no public to comment at this time. Ready to approve 3.01 motion? Motion by Ken. Second by Roger, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, are we done for the day? Okay. I think we're done for the day, so let me see, what do we have? There is no public to comment, the final public comment, next step meeting, we have meetings already set, so. Final comments, anything? Roger? Roger? Anything, Shane? No, Ethan, anything else for us?
No, sir, I do not have anything else.
All right, meeting adjourned. All are good, thank you.
Candace, is how it's supposed to look right here? Title, federal title 29 CFR, with that? Or is it just title, delete federal? All right, thank you.